Alright guys, Levi Trumbull here. Frederick County Public Schools has found themselves in the weeds again because a former Middletown student and athlete says he was falsely accused of using a racial slur during a football game and is now suing FCPS Maryland for a combined total of $400 million. Vince Flook III, who was a white student who played on Middletown's football team, faced a multi-game suspension in 2021 after a referee said he heard a Middletown player use the N-word against a black player from the opposing team. This is according to a 21-page complaint filed in the Frederick County Circuit Court. The former Middletown High School student is seeking $400 million in a defamation lawsuit against Frederick County Public Schools, claiming that the district falsely accused and punished him for using that racial slur, which again, he claims he never said. Now, we are going to read you the statement of facts presented in this lawsuit. Remember, these are just allegations. This complaint contains a recount of a race hoax, defamation including libel and slander, racial assault, assault, and discrimination. Plaintiffs are seeking damages for a 9/10/2021 incident from 13 separate defendants based upon 9 different causes of action. The incident is based upon a false racial slur allegation and insinuation that plaintiff Vince Flook III was a racist, and these torts were done under the color of law while the wrongdoers were conducting FCPS and Board of Education business. Defendants' agent/employees' actions were committed while in uniform and on defendant's real property, and plaintiff was participating in athletic activities under the auspices of defendants, FCPS, and Frederick County Board of Education. On or about September 10th, 2021, plaintiff Vince Flook III was playing in a football game pitting Middletown High versus Frederick High. It is relevant that Middletown High consists of mostly white players, and Frederick High players were mostly black and or African American. During the game, it is relevant that the Frederick High players were frequently and indiscriminately calling players on both sides N-word and N-word with an A. Middletown High won the game. The final score was 35-33. After the game, both sides participated in the handshake line, where each member of both sides shake hands and usually make greetings of sportsmanship or small talk. Plaintiff Vince Flook III went through the line, shaking each Frederick High School player's hand and saying, "Not today," to each. Plaintiff greeted some 40 Frederick High School players exactly the same with no incident. At the end of the line, an adult black/African American Frederick High coach, positively identified as E.J.Wallace, angrily confronted minor plaintiff Vince Flook III, telling plaintiff, "Shut yo bitch ass up, N-word." Plaintiff was stunned and hurt by the comment, but did nothing and continued on his way to the 30-yard line and waited for the team to assemble. Middletown assembled as a complete team and spoke together for 5 minutes. In the Middletown locker room, Vince told the head and assistant coaches exactly what had transpired in the line, specifically the "not today" statement he had made and the confrontation and slur issued by E.J. Wallace towards the minor, Vince Flook III. Vince Flook III was asked directly by his head coach if Vince had made any racial slurs, and Vince had said, "No, sir," several times. Frederick High School coach E.J. Wallace had issued a racial slur at Vince Flook III. Unbeknownst to plaintiff, Vince Flook III at the time was that after the Frederick High African-American adult coach had called him a N-word with an A referee for the game whose back was turned away and was walking away from the handshake line claimed to have heard the word N-word with an R and believed it came from the Middletown side despite having no direct knowledge of who said N-word with an R and witnessing no one say N-word with an R. The referee threw a flag after the fact and assumed a Middletown High player had said N-word with an R. Plaintiff Vince Flook III was absolutely stunned and hurt to hear he was being falsely accused of making a vile racial slur, notwithstanding the fact and truth that a slur has been issued at him by adult coach E.J.Wallace, and that Frederick High players and coaches, including E.J.Wallace, were now stating that Vince had called blacks in the line N-word with an R. Vince was scared, concerned, and depressed the rest of the weekend by the false and malicious lie and false statement of fact made against him by the Frederick High School players and coaches. On Monday, plaintiff learned that despite the facts and the truth, Middletown High principal Bernie Quesada had suspended him for 3 games for allegedly calling Frederick High School players N-word with an R. Plaintiff Vince Flook was crying, mad, angry, and mystified that he was being falsely accused of making a racial slur and calling blacks N-words when no such thing had happened. Vince, again, had prior to the suspension expressed and told the principal and assistant principal what had happened and made a statement/recount orally and in writing. Both his oral and written statement contained the disclosure that adult Frederick High School coach E.J.Wallace had issued a threat against him and told Vince to shut yo bitch ass up, N-word. This truth was again wrote in the written statement and submitted to them, stating the truth and the facts. This oral and written statement to the FCPS Middletown principal Bernard Quesada and vice principal Eric Schwarzenegger was ignored and was not investigated, and Vince was suspended for 3 games, notwithstanding the truth and the actual facts. The Flook family appealed the suspension. FCPS suspended Vince for 14 days based on a lie and false racial slur allegation. The 3-game suspension was ultimately reduced to 2 games. Meanwhile, FCPS and its agents, employees publicly made it known to third parties in the community all over Frederick County, orally and in writing, that plaintiff Vince Flook III had called blacks from Frederick High N-word with an R and was a racist. This false statement of fact was communicated far and wide through the public Frederick County community by defendants' actions and adversely affected all plaintiffs, not just Vince Flook III. Defendants' defamation was manifested at a football game between Oakdale High and Middletown High. At the game, Oakdale students and members of the public held up signs stating, quote, "Vince is a racist." Additionally, after the Oakdale defamation incident, members of Frederick High School went searching for Vince at a local youth sport football game, and both kids and parents of Frederick High verbally threatened other Middletown youth and parents with harm, specifically searching to commit acts of violence against plaintiff Vince Flook III for the false assertion and allegation that Vince called Frederick High players N-words. Plaintiffs wrote and delivered a written tort claim notice upon FCPS, the Frederick Board of Education, and the state of Maryland. All events occurred in Frederick County, Maryland. Again, a tort claims notice was provided to all defendants. Defendants were allocated the 180-day period for an investigation pursuant to statute. However, defendants have refused to disclose the results of their investigation. This plaintiff is suing for count 1, negligent hiring, retention, or supervision. Count 2, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Count 3, assault. Count 4, negligence. Count 5, respondent superior. Count 6, punitive damages. Count 7, civil conspiracy. Count 8, defamation, libel. Count 9, defamation, slander. Wherefore, the plaintiff seeks $100 million in compensatory damages and $300 million for punitive damages. And that right there is the nutshell of the case. Again, we have a lot of defendants here on this case, I just want to read to you some of the defendants that have been listed in this circuit court action. We have listed as defendants in this case Frederick County Public School System, the Frederick County Board of Education, Middletown High School, Frederick High School, Principal Bernard Quesada, Vice Principal Eric Schwarzenegger, Dr. Daniel Lippy, the Athletic Director Michael DeSimone, the former Superintendent of FCPS, Teresa Albin, E.J.Wallace, who is the Assistant Coach of Frederick High School, Kevin Kendrow, who is the Athletic Coordinator, the referee, Henry Jiggets, and some other people they have just listed as Player A and Player B. I don't know if that's a student or what that is supposed to mean. A massive lawsuit against Frederick County Public Schools in Maryland for what Vince Flook III claims to be defamation, as well as a litany of other counts that he says were committed against him, wrongful torts that he seeks to recover financially on, based on the claim he was accused of being racist and using racial derogatory language when he said it simply never happened. Levi Trumbull reporting here in Frederick.